All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Trevor Grassi, and today I'm very excited to have my good friends Mike Ricksecker and Mohamed Ibrahim with me. And we've got a very, very exciting topic to get into today. We're going to be talking about ancient technology of Egypt, including stargates specifically, and some very interesting on the site hieroglyphic evidence and indications of this type of technology actually existing in Egypt. Not hypothetical, but some really great firsthand research that both of you have been working on for a long time. So I want to welcome both of you. Welcome, Mike. Welcome, Mohammed. Thanks for being here. Um,
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. We've been
Thanks.
talking about, yeah, thanks for coming back, Mohammed. This is your second time talking with me, and I really appreciate that. Maybe I'll start with you, Mohammed. I wanted to ask you to explain a little bit about what you were doing earlier on before you kind of opened up to some of the things you started finding with this. Could you tell us a little about your early career getting into Egyptology and your start in all this?
Yeah. In Egypt, we have two major colleges. If you want to study Egyptology and become an Egyptologist, works for the administration of antiquities, you go to what we call it Antiquities College. But if you want to work as a tour guide like me, you go to a college for tourism. But both of us, we studied the same thing exactly. Yeah, maybe a little bit some in some subjects deeper there or in our college deeper, but still at least 90% of the information are the same. Okay, 4 years in that college and 4 years in the other college. So I can say both of us graduate almost the same level of knowledge. And that level of knowledge was, I'm not saying that it is not less than what we expect. No, it was very good level of knowledge. We studied everything about ancient Egypt. We studied language in a very good way, ancient Egyptian language. And by the way, it's not right to call it hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics is one of the ways how we write the language. It's a name of a font, not the name of the language. It is called ancient Egyptian language. We studied ancient Egyptian religion, ancient Egyptian art, archaeology, but of course, was without deep details because we had to study everything, all the pyramids, all the temples, all the tombs, even the Greco-Roman era, also Coptic era, Islamic era. Okay, so it was too much. So the good students, in my opinion, are very qualified tour guides or antiquities employees. Okay, and the same thing happened when we graduate. We both join the business we wanted to join, either a tour guide or an employee. Um, and that may be one of the main reasons that there is no options to find something new. Yes, you can find more, but on the same level, on the same frame. Okay, you can read more about the pyramid, you can read more about temples, but still in the same frame. Um, Being a good student is a chance to find new doors, new gates. Okay, and that's what happened to me when I started to work with famous speakers. Not necessarily famous, but let's call them alternative speakers. Some of them were very famous, some were not. And they
Mhm.
started to present different ideas. I was in the beginning a little bit not like comfortable with this, okay? Because now this is the most complicated part of the story. Anytime you have a new idea or you want to like do a deeper research, you will be accused that you are trying to change the Egyptian history. You are trying to relate all the important or the miracles from ancient Egypt to another civilization or to extraterrestrials. No, This is wrong. We talk about what we call it dynastic Egypt. But it happened. Like when I say King Khufu existed, for sure. We had a king called Khufu, king called Kefren, Menkaura, Ramses, all these kings. Okay. We are not trying to deny them, but we are trying to say that there are older civilizations existed before Dynasty One, before even what we call it pre-dynastic. And that is the issue. Let me tell you something. Many of the people don't understand and maybe don't believe that when the early geologists, okay, around 1890 and beginning of 1900, when they started involving in the Egyptian history, and they found very old pottery jars and very old objects. They came up with the idea, it was an idea in the beginning, that it might be older groups, and they called them cultures, before the dynastic. Guess what happened? The famous Egyptologist at the time, like Flinders Petrie, they said, no, this is wrong. No, this is not correct. There is nothing called pre-dynastic. And they said all these pottery jars are poor quality from the Old Kingdom or Middle Kingdom, but
Mm.
don't say there is pre-dynastic. After 20 years, they all accepted the existence of pre-dynastic, and now this is a huge part of the ancient Egyptian history, and there are hundreds of thousands of master degrees and PhD degrees in that part, pre-dynastic Egypt. Okay, so
Yeah.
that is my beginning, and that is how I, if I can call it, shifted or now getting deeper in the ancient Egyptian civilization.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. It's what I wanted to address this earlier part of your career at first because at this point now you are, if not in the top, you may be the most prominent Egyptian guide today on Earth. You've achieved your own fame, which is well deserved, and it's because of a lot of this new research you've been doing. You've got your first book out now, and we can talk about that a little today, and your next book that's coming out, which in that book, you are going to get into some of the things that I want to ask you about in a minute here, because it actually gets into this newer research you've done, which is absolutely fascinating. And I had been following some of your work about this. You were my first guide in Egypt when I went with Dr. Robert Schoch, who is, of course, one of the most famous names in this. You've worked with Chris Dunn and all these other great researchers who are all friends of mine too. And so thank you for all that great work. And it's amazing that you speak to these researchers and they bring up these theories to you, and then you are 24/7 at the temples actually finding more and more examples of what these other researchers are bringing up. So you're such a critical part of this entire research that's across many different authors and different subjects. You've really been bringing together a lot of that evidence that helps seal it all together. So I thank you for that very much. And yeah, thank you very much for coming to t talk with us about some of this too today because it's so exciting what you were just telling Mike. You and Mike have been having the Stargate tours, the Stargates of Egypt tour for I think this is your third year now doing that
Yeah,
one.
Yeah.
right.
So yeah, I want to ask you, Mike, to give a little introduction to yourself as well, and tell about, what how you got started with it and how you ended up meeting up with Mohammed and getting into this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, for me, I grew up on Indiana Jones, absolutely loved those films. They were fun, they were adventurous. But the part that intrigued me, you'd have these really long action sequences, but the part that always intrigued me about those films was like, no, I want to learn more about the research. I want them to uncover more mysteries and clues, and the
Yeah.
real. And I understand, fictional tales, but the fact that they're going to Egypt and uncovering these different supposed tombs and things like this within the films. I was always fascinated by that. Well, in 1993, I was a young airman stationed in Alaska, and all of a sudden on television, here's this wonderful documentary hosted by Charlton Heston, Mystery of the Sphinx, featuring the work by John Anthony West and Robert Schoch redating the Sphinx. And I was absolutely blown away by that. And they kept rerunning this thing. And so I kept watching it night after night after night, which was incredible. And then less than a year later, the film Stargate came out, and I was just okay. I'm fascinated. This is incredible. The what's happening there in Egypt, even though again the film Stargate being a fictional tale, it's like there was something in my mind that knew there's something deeper to this. Even though it's a fictional tale, this is inspired by something, and what is that? And so over the years, I always kind of kept digging into things, even though a lot of my research kind of went in a different vein because I was also very much involved with the paranormal and supernatural community and doing a lot of work there. And I started seeing over the years how there was this overlap between the what I was researching in the supernatural realm, and when you started looking back into ancient history, a lot of the ancient beliefs in the afterlife and in other dimensions and things like this. And so, some years back, I decided to go on a tour to Egypt that Mohammed happened to be the guide for, because I wanted to see for myself with my own eyes. I mean, for one, I'd always wanted to go to Egypt because of all of the things I just previously mentioned, but to see, okay, what can I actually set my eyes on that can tell us more about this, what the duat and the afterlife journey, which, really, I, I always say that the afterlife is kind of a misnomer when it comes to ancient Egypt. It wasn't really the quote unquote afterlife. It was just another part of life, another part of the journey. And so I wanted to see how this, duat, is this another dimension that they were going to, and what have you. And so, yeah, I met Mohammed on tour, and we were taking a flight from Cairo down to this tour. We were flying down to all the way to Aswan, and we went up and back down the Nile, and we sat next to each other on that flight. And we started talking about ancient technology, Christopher Dunn's work, and all of that. And as we were chatting, Mohammed, and I really appreciate this, Mohammed, he said, I think I want to do some tours with you. So it's like, that would be wonderful. So yeah, so this is our third one. Mohammed doesn't know this yet, but and I'm going to give him a copy when I see him in November for the Stargates tour. My latest book, Portals to the Stars, is dedicated to him and Noha.
Awesome. Yeah, that is great. And I was in Egypt a couple of years ago, I don't know, 2022 or three. And I was talking to Mohammed, just seeing if we could catch up one day. And he invited me to come on to join for one day of your tour because I happened to be there. It was a very kind gesture and it was such a fun day. And I met you for the first time, Mike, and a couple other really good friends. But
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned Indiana Jones because we literally went to Tanis, which is
All
where
right.
Indiana Jones went to find the Ark of the Covenant. And
Yeah.
it's a very lesser known site, but very amazing, interesting site I've been wanting to go for a long time. Not to mention, we also went to the Temple of Bastet, which I'd wanted to get to for a long time as well. So
Mm.
we actually followed in the footsteps of Indiana Jones, all of us
We
together.
did, we did, and we may have entered a tomb there. So yeah, that was
We
great
may have.
correlation there. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting site.
Can't wait to have my copy, Mike, from this book.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to handing you a copy, and I'm looking forward to your latest one too. I mean, I have
Mm.
your first one. Actually, it's in the bookshelf over there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to your next one too, because that is specifically Stargates of Ancient Egypt.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. And you have a one or two other books, right? Or at least one other one, right, Mike?
Oh my gosh, I have
You have
14.
several. You have
But
14? I
I
thought
have
you had,
14.
wow. I did not know you had that many, but yeah,
So, but
that's
it's
amazing.
but Portals to the Stars, that's the second in a series I'm calling Connecting the Universe. So the first one is on the nature of time, the possibilities of real time travel, and it does have a brief section in there on Stargates. But Portals to the Stars is where I get more into the portals and other dimensions, and that's a much bigger exploration into Stargates.
Very good. Mhm.
Yeah, interesting. I've been up to Alaska too a couple times, and I know you were writing a lot about the Alaska Triangle, they call it,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a Bermuda Triangle. We know that there's this kind of geometric grid wrapping around the planet, and there are these certain points where these energy lines are crossing each other that have something to do with these interdimensional or thin spots in space or whatever you might call it, that
Yeah,
clearly have something to do with this.
absolutely. And that's another reason why I wanted to get to Egypt is, the energy there. And I had been in my research in the Alaska Triangle. And yes, when I was stationed up there in the 90s, I did experience some things as well as other people that were with me at some of these locations. And so that was another thing that I was looking for was, okay, what is this energy like here in Egypt? And, how were the ancients tapping into and using this energy?
Mhm. Very good.
Yeah, that's one of the questions when you start looking at Chris Dunn's work as well, and you're saying, okay, what if these were power plants in some sense? Were they harvesting or generating energy? Well, then what was that energy used for? What was it really being collected for or whatever? So you have a lot of questions like that, but um yeah, it ended up coming to this knowledge of seeing actual physical hieroglyphic inscriptions that were describing things related to literally Stargate. These very, very distinct, very difficult to interpret in any other ways. And it started, basically describing this high technology. Um, so I know you both have many images of some of these hieroglyphs and inscriptions and pictograms that are showing stuff like that. Maybe we could get into some of those if you want to share some of that
Yeah,
and take a
I
look
could
at.
do that, and I could share this, and let me make sure I have the right one up. And then, I mean, Mohammed is really the expert when it comes to this, but yeah, I mean, this is basically the hieroglyphs for Stargate at the Temple of Seti in Abydos, and can I move through? This is basically on either side of the doorway. There's Mohammed and I there on one of the tours, pointing at those hieroglyphs. So it's kind of funny because I'll throw this out when I'm doing a presentation, and I'll say, okay, how many people had learning hieroglyphs on their bingo card for today? But you're looking at the word Saba starting from the right hand side there, which is the name of Mohammed's tour company. So that's why I'm like, Mohammed could probably better describe what exactly is going on here.
Yeah, that's your logo.
Uh, we can see four symbols before what we call it the cartouche, which contains the name of the king, King Seti. The name is Men Ma'atra, and maybe also the name is part of the story. So, what are the first symbols? Three of them reads Saba. Okay. Number four, it doesn't read anything. Okay, which is wrong. What I'm like things I'm saying is wrong, and thing I'm trying to correct it, the that wrong thing. But I'm talking about if you have a dictionary, ancient Egyptian dictionary, English ancient Egyptian, you'll find this word with this combination is called Saba, and they call it gate. Okay, but if we remove number four and you search for the first three symbols, which is Saba also, it reads star. And then when you search the symbol gate individually, you will find it and it reads Ruti, which means gate. So we have the first three symbols alone are called Saba. The number four alone is called Ruti. The Saba means star, Ruti means gate. Okay. So when you put them together, they insisted to keep call it gate. So they don't even call it star. Okay. And I was very clear when I said, how come this we must read it this way, Stargate? Because in other cases, the Egyptian artist, I think he maybe this may be a joke, but I think he felt that some people will tried to ignore this fact, and he made it short version, abbreviations. So he made just a star and a gate to make sure you read it this way, Stargate. Like there is no mistake. Okay.
Yeah, because this one's
Yeah.
read right to left, right? Because you can see the figures facing to the right, so you're reading right to left on this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But don't
I
consider the
provided another
first one.
variation here of where you have star gates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm,
Now you see another combination. It's not just one gate anymore. It is a star gates. So as if there are
yeah.
many gates in that place are leading to the same star system. So it is
Mm,
not just one individual gate. So this is the
wow.
second style of writing Stargate, and there is the third style, and there is more styles.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variations. I probably could have grabbed a bunch more photos and thrown them in here to show
Hmm.
those. But
Mm.
in fact, let me see if I can dig up another here that might be readily accessible.
Yes.
I can
So
zoom
you
in a
see,
little bit here for you.
Trevor, the first one we saw earlier, that was what I can call it the official title Stargate. Okay. Anytime we want to say Stargate, that is the word. But now this is different. We can see a shape of a gate a little bit different from the previous one. But when we see it, it is a gate or a door. It's more like a 2D tunnel, in my opinion. Okay.
This is more of a pictogram rather than actually spelling the name out. I would say more of a illustration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
now a
And
picture. Yes, it's
right.
it's not a symbol, it's a picture.
And
But
if you
we can
look at
see
the top line above, you actually see the star over the gate right in the middle of that top line above each of the larger gates.
Wow.
exactly. They made this in case you like miss the meaning. So they tell you, be
Hmm.
careful. This shape is a stargate. Don't forget there is
Yeah.
that is written again. Okay.
It's a redundancy to prove that you're not on the. This might be crazy for you to imagine this being a Stargate, but let's label it to make sure, which is
Exactly.
really important because they don't. When there's things that might be difficult to believe, they always have a redundancy. So they're labeling and showing, which I think is really important. I know that was what some of the hieroglyphs, they have a glyph called a determinative glyph,
Mhm.
which is not part of the
Yeah.
phonetic spelling of a word, but that comes with a word in order to give you a second confirmation of its meaning. Like
Well,
maybe,
and that's
Exactly.
kind of what the going back here, that's basically what the star and the gate are because the phonetics are the folded sheet, the S at the beginning, and then the foot, the B in the middle.
Exactly.
mhm,
Yeah.
The star is an extra, yes, extra
Yep.
symbol to make sure
Yeah.
this is we read it Saba.
Yeah. And
mhm,
then the little lines there for those watching at home, those three lines there are the ones that make this plural, stargates. Yeah.
Exactly.
mhm.
So no, yes, so more than three. So it could be three and it could be 300
Yeah.
or 10,000. This is
Yeah.
plural. Exactly. Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yet another little variation, I put the Edfu one in here. This is because it's a little star over the gate, but then that's Great Stargate, correct, Mohammed?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good.
The,
So now this is the third shape or style of a Stargate, or the fourth now. Okay. So now this is not just a Stargate. No, it is a great Stargate. This is something big. This is another level of Stargates leads to maybe a huge system or solar system or way beyond our universe to another place. So they give it the name Great Stargate.
Wow.
Okay. By
That's
the way,
also,
in there was an explanation. I must say it. I know some people maybe don't want to listen to the academic story, but we must say it in case someone will tell them, no, don't agree with this. They hide the truth. They say that any location with this symbol, it was used as observatory to watch certain stars, like Sirius star as an example. Okay, which is something I agree with. It happened, but as a second use, not
mhm,
as original use, because many of these rooms are rooms with a ceiling. They don't see the stars. They don't see anything outside the temple. It is
mhm.
It is rooms in the middle of the construction under the roof. So how come, like city
Yeah.
first, like this temple, Mike? So how come if we are inside this room in city temple, we will see the stars? But a place like Edfu, yes, maybe this part is open air area. Yes, but also it's a narrow corridor. You cannot see much of the stars.
Right.
So the
Mhm.
idea to claim that this was an observatory, no. I think later the priest was trying to use it as an observatory, but the original thing, and here comes a good question. What is the meaning of the Stargate here? Like, why they give us this information?
Mhm.
Because someone can ask us, what about the other hieroglyphic symbols? Can you read it and give us a complete story? Now, here is the trick. No, most of these texts were written in Greco-Roman time, especially the Greek time in Egypt. And it was written with a very hard code. So my understanding that a knowledgeable priest didn't want to lose the knowledge. He wrote everything. Like the story also at Edfu, the one we call it Atlantis story. Okay.
Yeah, I
At the
was
back.
just gonna say.
Yep.
Yes, it was written with full details, but how much we know? A little bit. Why?
Yeah.
Because it is coded. We cannot read it without the code. We cannot understand it without the code. So someone left all the information for us, but we need to work hard. We need to do our homework to find the code first, and then I can tell you that we will understand everything. All our
Mhm.
questions will be answered about ancient Egypt, but all
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
need is the code.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And another thing that's interesting about Edfu is that the Stargate symbolism, you find a lot of it, but it's not on the doorways there like we find in other temples. We find it in the story on the walls there. And I agree with you about the encoding of the story there at Edfu, because I think during that time,
Mhm.
I think the ancient Egyptian priests knew that they were starting to lose their culture. They'd been invaded by the Persians. Now you had the Greeks come in, eventually the Romans. So I think they knew that this was starting to get lost, and
Mhm.
papyrus eventually degrades and falls apart. Fortunately, we do have some of that, but putting it there on the walls is going to be something that is much, much more permanent. But you have limited space on the wall. So, yeah, you're only getting a small part of the story there. But it's enough to let us know that, yeah, this is that story, that pre cataclysmic story of what we call Atlantis. But we only get that word from Plato, and he was Greek. So they always
Mhm.
change the name of
Well,
everything.
yeah, well,
Well,
on the subject of Edfu really quick is that I did do a video there recently and I found a Stargate more like it was written in the first one you showed,
Mhm.
but not this style, but at Edfu as well. And yeah, I did one of my favorite interviews I've ever done was with Manu Seyfzadeh, who's working to work on those glyphs there. He's working to create an English interpretation from the German from the Edfu project, which are he's describing that these Ptolemaic age glyphs, there's I don't know, there's thousands of characters
Yeah.
by that point in time. It is so complicated, right? It's
It,
one of
it
the
would
most
Yeah, it
yeah.
would be nice to have a modern project like that put together, because really our only reference right now, and it's a great reference,
Mhm.
the mythical origins of the Egyptian temple
Yeah,
by Ibrahim, but that dates
right.
back into the 1960s.
Yeah.
And it's not so much a verbatim
Hmm.
translation as it is kind of it was her whole doctor, her thesis, and everything that she put together.
Yeah.
But it's more of a summation of this is what the story is telling you rather than that straight translation. So yeah, if he's doing
Yeah.
that, that would be fantastic to have.
Yeah, I think she did a great service doing that, but they were it was very complicated and I think there was a lot of errors and they wanted to more comprehensively cover it. So Dieter Kurth from Germany, they've been doing the Edfu project for I think 36 years and it's still going, but
mhm.
they're only translating it into German. So Manu, who's not only fluent in German, but also knows a lot about translating hieroglyphs and often consults with Mohamed because you two are both two of my most trusted hieroglyphic experts I usually go to ask. I mean, Muhammad or Manu is not trained in reading it like that, but he always, when he wants to learn a passage, he will research every glyph. So it's been really great. And yeah, I just want to mention too on the subject of Edfu, for if you have more of these you want to look at.
Yeah, I was trying to
Actually,
grab a couple of others here. I think, yeah, this is the one I'm looking for. So let me bring
well,
that.
Manu also said in our interview that one interesting thing that is actually connected to the stars in some sense, at least potentially. Well, for one thing, he did also find what he believes to be the root of the word Atlantis on the
Mm,
walls, being like Utlant, which would have been had the is added to it as a name being translated into Greek. So he thinks
mm,
he found the root of that, but he also was talking about the origin of the Edfu building text, which is this whole passage, relating this island of fire from which the original Egyptians came, and
Right.
this whole thing that corresponds to Atlantis. It says that all those texts, though they were written in Ptolemaic times, came from much earlier ancient traditions, and
Oh, sure.
also from a book that descended from the sky north of Memphis. And I'm
mm.
saying, what is that book and what does that mean exactly? Descended from the sky.
Hmm.
So anyway, I think
Yeah,
it's
that would be
starting
interesting.
to pull in to this, yeah, type of
Yeah,
thing.
and a lot of that information came from the Temple of Sais, which is now gone, but
Hmm.
it was passed down. And what I found interesting is you do find these connections from what had been Sais, Edfu, but also at Esna. That seems to kind of be a link
Mm.
between the two.
Mm.
Um, but but yeah, when you get into the story of how it was passed on, how Plato eventually got it, and where Solon was at, who's the one that passed it
Hmm.
on to the Greeks. He was at the Temple of Sais. He was there at Heliopolis learning from the priest there. So, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, both of those are we've lost those. So, but this is
Right.
another image there from Edfu. You can see the more kind of traditional Stargate on the top line. The bottom line, this is Mohammed. This would be hundreds of Stargates.
Ah, yes, the plural,
Yeah,
exactly.
Wow.
And this is a good point, Mike, when you said in Edfu Temple, we see these stargates in the middle of the text.
yeah,
Okay, so because again, some people were saying, you see it on the both sides of the door or the gate, the door jams, so as if it says gate. Okay, but now we see it in the middle of the text. So it doesn't say gate or jam, or it's not a kind of a welcoming message. Okay. Like when you live in a nice villa, you write villa of this person. Okay. It's no, it's not that case. So here it's a confirmation that there is a long story, big text talking about how they can get access. And by the way, I saw this text hundreds of times and I didn't pay attention to what I'm talking about now. But because of another location, I started to pay attention that the text here is describing what is happening when we cross or how we can use this. We will come to this a little bit later when we talk about Abydos again, because Abydos was the
Okay.
beginning and then I thought I saw everything in Abydos, but last year I saw more stuff in Abydos. Like what happened with me and Mike last year, I
Hmm.
saw in Dendara, also like maybe 7 years ago, these the symbols we saw earlier. Okay,
yeah. Let me see if
and
I
I
can get
was
back. Oh, by the
explaining
way,
them for more than 5 years.
yeah,
And
please.
when we were leading our tour last year, and I was talking about major four stargates there. Okay. You can see the window behind me. Mike said, there, can we find more? I told him I'm not sure because I didn't ask myself this question before. Every time
Hmm.
I visit this temple, I talk about the story how I discovered these symbols, and we explain it, and then we go. So I didn't have any chance to look around. So we
Hmm.
started to look around together. We found four more symbols on the window to the left side. Behind Mike, this is the main door. Okay. and there is a window on the right side. So there is the door in the middle, window on the right, window on the left. So we went to the window on the left first. We found four symbols, and then we ran to the other window. We found four more. So total 12. We
Wow.
found the gates. So you see, for years I was talking about one thing, and then as if destiny is telling us, no, you're still learning. You're still going to see more and more. Every time we
Amazing.
uh, finish a level, we got into a new level of understanding
Hmm.
and of seeing.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
wonder
I
if
think
it
that's a great
was,
thing about our tour, Mohammed. It seems like every time that we have a tour together, we discover something new. So there's different things that we are finding in
Yes,
the room of ships at Abydos last year, and just yeah, there's always something. This was a great one, absolutely.
exactly.
yeah. I
And
remember seeing that as it happened and you were posting about it. I was like, wow, awesome. It's
Yeah.
like I was there.
yes, you
Yeah.
know, also, Mike and I, we found something. I don't think we didn't boast about it in a good way yet. We found a flower of life
Oh
in one
yes.
of the cold Roman structure in Alexandria.
Mhm.
Nobody knows about this place,
Wow.
or nobody knows about the flower of life that millions, hundreds of millions of tourists visited that place in the last 10 years. No one have seen it, but
Wow.
we have photos for it.
Yeah, I have some
Wow.
photos somewhere. Let's see if I can find those. I know they're got to be in
That's
here somewhere.
Yes.
That's awesome. Everyone knows the Flower of Life at the Osirian at Abydos. There's several of them there that you showed me when we were there with Robert Schock, and um,
Mhm.
there was one that recently I've seen at Saqqara. There's a Flower of Life there. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that was lesser known and just popped up. And I've never heard of the one unless you mentioned it once, but I don't remember hearing about one in Alexandria. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Um,
There is one in
yeah.
Aswan, one in Alexandria, and the
Huh.
famous, there is nine in Abydos, by the way, the Assyrian. They are almost nine, I think. Not
Hmm.
just one, there are many.
Yeah, some
And
of
there,
them are kind of faint.
and there is one on a wooden plate in Metropolitan Museum. And
Hmm.
there is one I saw myself on Pottery Jar, Elephantine Island, but it was on the ground and I left it. I
Wow.
came back in another tour and didn't see it again, disappeared.
Wow.
Yes.
Did you get a picture of it at least?
Yes, I have
Okay,
many
good.
pictures of it. Yes.
Okay, good. Well,
I
this
do.
is really, really interesting. Oh, you have one?
Yeah, I
Maybe?
do have it here. I'm trying to move it into
Cool.
that directory where we're.
Oh,
That's all of
wow.
us pointing at it. This is
Yeah.
it that the uh, and there's the flower of life.
At
So
Alexandria?
that was in the catacombs. Yeah, so it's just showing this is
Yes.
all of us in the catacombs
Okay.
pointing up at it. It's in the ceiling of this one particular chamber, and there it is. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's in the catacombs that are very, very
Yes.
the Mohammed, you told me to go there, and it was quite an experience, actually. They weren't letting us take any photos down there, but those catacombs are very extensive, very creepy,
Yes.
kind of, honestly. With
Yes.
Agatha Demon, these serpents on the main tomb, and well,
Pretty neat.
I have another really great question, I think, for either of you, if you want to answer, which is going back to Edfu for a moment, in the back of Edfu, there's this Holy of Holies chamber in the center with that has this giant granite box that's upright. It's not like the sarcophagus style, but an upright one with a seat actually in it. And I wanted to ask you, I think when a lot of people hear, us talking about Stargates, they're thinking we're talking about like the movie with a giant ring and a metal object,
Otherwise.
which I don't know if there might be some like that in Egypt. Do you think that some of these actual just stone boxes, which are more shaped like these designs we're seeing in the hieroglyphs, do you think any of them are actually could be the Stargates, or not even if you would sit down and just get transported to another place, but even tools that could help project your consciousness potentially to other places or to connect to other. boxes that potentially are made from the same stone? Is there a resonance connection? Could this be like, we know physics tells us these Einstein-Rosen bridge, like wormholes and things folds through space-time. Do you think some of these Stargate technologies might just be these stone boxes that we see everywhere and nobody thinks about as being technology, but do you think they could be perhaps?
If you allow me, Mike, I want to answer this question. Okay.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Let's put a statement, very important, not to this talk only, but for everything. The buildings in ancient Egypt, like the pyramids and the giant temples, these megalithic structures, we believe that it belongs to an earlier advanced civilization. In my opinion, like I will give an example. The pyramid, in my opinion, is more than 80,000 years old.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'm very conservative saying this, by the way. It could be older. And I have my evidence about this. But what is my story? That the one civilization used the pyramid as power plant. Okay. Another civilization used the pyramid as a portal. Another civilization used the pyramid as healing center. So yes, every site in ancient Egypt was serving as many functions, but not necessarily all together in one time. No,
No.
when they needed this type of function. So the same thing, that design inside the Holy of Holies, okay, we call it the shrine. It's more like a kiosk. Yes, so it is
Mhm.
upright. It is not on the backside like the Serapium boxes or something. No,
Mhm.
it is over there
Yeah,
with
it's more like the one at Elephantine Island we saw that's on its
exactly.
side.
Yes. And the top is a pyramid shape, by the way. So it is related to pyramid technology. Okay. So what myself, I call this design, I call it the catalyst. This is where they put the statue of the knitter. The word they mistakenly explain it as God. So if we talk about Edfu, they put the statue of Horus. The statue is made out of what? Mostly granite. It could be another stone, but 90% it will be granite. And the catalyst is made out of granite. Granite contains quartz. Quartz has the ability to uh, send and receive data and vibration. The statue, in my opinion, is not a statue. It's a battery. The battery to which has the power of the place. That's why in one of the famous stories about Hathor and Horus, Dandara temple and Edfu temple, it says that they got married, Horus the elder, and then Hathor, and they visit each other once a year individually, and then twice together 2 times. They move from Hathor temple to Edfu temple, and from Edfu back to Dandara, and then from Dandara together to Edfu, and then together back to Dandara. So what is this story? Is this a marriage ceremony? No. We read it as marriage. But the story is they sent the power or the raw energy of the masculine power from Edfu to the feminine energy at Dandara. And then the feminine energy from Dandara to the masculine temple or energy to Edfu to balance these energies because one pure feminine is not right, one pure masculine is not right. Okay, but the power source is what is the statue. What happened if the statue is drained out of this energy? That shrine, the catalyst is the like the microwave. It's not the microwave, of course, but I think the word catalyst is enough. It is where you put the statue, recharge the statue, and then it will be active again.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
So one time it was a catalyst. One time, yes, it can be a distributor of knowledge or waves, can be used as a Stargate. Why not? Okay. It contains quarters. Look, I always say you can understand the function of many things according to the name, if you can understand the meaning of the name, and also if you can understand the material. The name can be a good reason to understand what it is, okay? And the material can also tell us what it was made for, okay? Because when you see something made of out of plastic, you don't expect heavy duty, but out of iron or metal, you expect heavy duty, okay? Yes, we may don't get the full meaning, but at least we know that this something is sophisticated, so it was designed to an important function.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and if we look into quantum physics, into the concept of quantum entanglement, that's not very far off from the concept of sympathetic resonance. When you have, for instance, two stones that were pulled from the same bedrock, they have the same exact uh, inherent frequency. So it's like these things would be connected. If you put them in two different countries, they would still kind of be connected to one another. And so maybe that was part of
Quantum,
the technology.
yes.
And yeah, I know I've heard at least that there were traditions that in some ages when what they were actually doing with the Great Pyramid was after the pharaoh had died, they would or high priest, they would put him inside the pyramid and then leave him there for 40 days and nights and they would be outside chanting and praying and things like that. And the hope would be that when they went back in, he would be gone, as if to say he went through like a
Mhm.
Stargate function, he would have been sent to somewhere else, or if he didn't make it, his body would still be in there. But it would also potentially help with the process of mummification, possibly, and preserving his body, like you say, if these things would charge the statues with this kind of life energy, or it's almost like orgone or organite, which is Wilhelm Reich's word for it, where it's like a charger of life energy. That's very interesting, you say, which I think definitely had a lot to do with the quartz content in that stone as well. So
Mhm.
that's very fascinating. Um, and yeah, I wanted to ask you about well, actually, one quick question that I wanted to throw in here was there's a book at Abydos at the Temple of Seti the First. Seti the First sarcophagus had a book written on it called the Book of Gates. Do you think that book has anything to do with the Stargates? Is that a reference to that, or gates the soul could move through? It's kind of considered one of the underworld texts, so it's like an afterlife text. But it's curious that it's named the Book of Gates because early on, I was one of John Anthony West's friends that I got in touch with through him. Charlie Hertzer was a really great hieroglyphic translator that John respected, and he was working on this book and asked me. I was actually helping him a little bit, just typing it up for him, but he got me very interested in it. Do you think that's related to the Stargates at all?
Okay. There is a book called Book of the Gates, another book called Book of the Hours, and there is a book of the, which is not easy to explain, but I will explain it in English. The people who are coming forth to daylight. Okay, that is the meaning. It's in the Egyptian way, it's very short. Okay, but this is the English explanation. The book of the people who are coming forth to the daylight, the end of the journey. When you talk about these books now, everybody will tell you, no, my friend, this is part of what we call it Book of the Dead. Come on, guys, no, this is not about, no, it is about Book of the Dead. This is about the journey of the afterlife. Why? And listen carefully to this. There is nothing called Book of the Dead. Okay? But they decided like 8 years ago, it was a German Egyptologist. I forgot his name. Uh, every time I forget his name, but maybe in 2 minutes I will remember his name. Okay. Carl Lepsius. Yes, Carl Lepsius.
That's it, yeah.
He decided that these books must be called Book of the Dead. Did the ancient Egyptian call it Book of the Dead? No. Any reference call it Book of the Dead? No. So imagine that Book of the Gates from day one, we understand about it, we call it Book of the Gates, and we study it as Book of the Gates, not Book of the Dead. So yes, there is a book called Book of the Gates, talk about 12 gates. And this is the twin of Book of the Hours, 12 hours. And they say this is the tunnel from first life to second life. Uh, Half day uh, through the night, 12 hours from sunset to sunrise. And that's why the book number three is after sunrise. Okay.
And you
So
found
book,
12 gates at Dendera too.
yes, exactly.
Very interesting.
But now, as Mike said earlier, why we consider this, or the word duat again, why you consider this afterlife? Okay.
Mhm.
Because I can share with you now this picture from the coffin. Okay. Yes, this astronomical information is written on one of the sides of the coffin. But what does it mean? The deceased is not going to fly to Mars or to Jupiter or to outside the solar system. Okay, because what we are talking about it happened also in the ancient Egyptian dynastic time, that the priest used these astronomical information serving in the afterlife meanings to sell something to them, either information or sometimes to sell them hope by trying to teach them some spells. Okay, these spells were originally sound or and resonant, okay, to activate gates. But he sold them the spell to fight the evil in the afterlife. So I don't blame the Egyptologist in modern days. No, I blame the ancient Egyptian priest who uh, uh, found a new function to the ancient Egyptian astronomy as science to serve the afterlife reasons. And here, let me
Mm.
show you the picture.
Yeah, she got the picture.
Okay. Here it is. This
Mhm.
is one of the coffins was found in a tomb between Cairo and Luxor in the middle. Okay. So we can see, I don't remember how many stars, but I think we are talking about over 100. And then we can see
Wow.
four main symbols. From the left, the sky, and then the what we call it, the Meskhetiyu. That word Meskhetiyu is the word for the seven stars. We call it Ursa Major, including the Big Dipper. And then uh, the man with the three fingers above his head. This is the symbol Sahu, and we know Sahu is Orion. And then this lady with the small pyramid. Yes, this is bad art a little bit. It's supposed to be a kind of a small pyramid. This is the title for Sobdet, Isis. So Sahu is connected with Osiris. Sobdet is connected with Isis. And who is Sobdet is Sirius star. So the ancient Egyptians are telling us also something interesting, that the energy of Orion system is male energy. The energy of Sirius star is female energy. Okay. So this is my point. Why we see this on a coffin. If I see this on papyrus paper on the temple, I will tell you this the priest is trying to practice some of his knowledge in astronomy. But why a coffin? Because again, this man was mistakenly believed that his soul is going to join one of these locations, aiming to finish or to join this journey like his early ancestors, the advanced ancient Egyptians. And now we bring a new subject to the table, that
Mhm.
the early advanced Egyptians were able to go outside our solar
Mhm.
system, to fly
Yeah.
to the sky, not
Yeah.
flying to, yes, they and they had stargates. I want to ask you a
Yeah.
question, and this is maybe
Okay.
with, it's a how do you call it? It's a simple example. When you go to someone's house, okay, and you find hundreds of computers and electronic devices, okay, what do you expect him doing, or his profession will be, his
Uh,
talent?
to be a computer programmer or repairman or something,
right?
IT guy. Yeah.
or a bot.
Another one was thousands of carpenter tools. What would be his
Mm,
profession? Another one was thousands of surgery tools. Another one was wires and electric things. Okay. So my point is and by the way, when we studied everything about ancient Egypt, there was one thing we studied maybe 1% of it or less, astronomy in ancient Egypt. We didn't study much about it. I was doing my own study after I was graduated, after I started to see stars everywhere, even before I saw the Stargate symbol. But I was like, what? There is so much about stars and about planets. Why we didn't study anything like this in the school or in the university? Okay.
yeah,
So I can tell you that the amount of information about stars in the walls and the ceilings of the tombs and the temples are like, how do you call it? Like super level of information. Okay.
yeah,
So after all of this, and then we deny that they had the ability, or didn't have even the information or the knowledge of space travel or activating stargates. This is not fair. Okay,
yeah,
and I'm telling you this, and I like 7 years ago or 8 years ago, I was completely against this idea. You must know this, okay?
yeah,
Yes, if when I started to get involved into the ancient technology, I was still far from the idea of stargates and the space travel and this stuff, okay? But after finding an evidence, another and another and another, then I was telling myself the same thing. It is not fair to claim that the ancient Egyptians or the advanced ancient Egyptians didn't have this technology, didn't have
yeah.
this knowledge, because they left hundreds of thousands of information and texts and symbols about stars. And when I say stars, by the way, we know some. They left the amount of information they left for us. We know some of them in our modern science. And there are so many we don't know anything about it. We see it. We can
Mhm.
read the word, but we don't know what it is. That's
Yeah.
why in the hieroglyphic dictionary it says unknown star system, unknown star system, unknown star system.
As
What
if
we
there
call
are known ones also.
Yes. What we call it the deacons, okay? 360 groups. How many of them we know? Maybe like 10, 12 groups. And we
Mhm.
don't know the rest of them.
Yeah. That's amazing. Actually, would you mind pulling that photo up one more time? Because I wanted to ask you about that. You said that that has a list of maybe over 100 stars at least, and it's showing the name of every single star.
Yes.
And because I want to ask you about some of the things you brought up in this interview with Mike recently that are some of the really amazing things you said about this. You were saying that at one point you found evidence that seemed to be saying there was like basically an instruction manual for using a Stargate that seemed to have a list of potential destinations with it. And I'm wondering, is that connected to this list here? Is that part of it? And are
No,
they
this,
actually showing, is this
no,
just
here,
all named stars?
okay, look, in my book, which maybe eventually can be two books, not one, there is part one about stars, the knowledge of the stars. Okay,
Yeah,
explain everything about the ancient Egyptian knowledge about the stars and our own also solar system. And by the way, my latest research is talking about the modern system and the older system, as if our sun now was not the same sun 10,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago or 1 million years ago. It's still the sun, but not the same exact sun. And I will give you a quick example. We have five names. Each one they call it the sun god. Of course, the word God is wrong. It is the power of the sun. We have Kibr, the morning, the sunrise. We have Ra, the morning. We have Atom, the noon. We have Atun, the afternoon, and we have Amun, the setting sun. Okay. So all of them the sun, but one early in the morning, one during the day, one afternoon, like this. So as if the ancient Egyptian tried to say each one is representing one of the powers of the sun. But then there's some names are older than these names, like the name uh, uh, Montu. Montu is a sun, but which sun? One of the five? No.
Wasn't that a
And
bull? Also, the bull of Montu?
yes,
Wasn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
So Montu is older than dynastic time. So, and they call Montu the warrior. So now we are talking about aggressive sun. So Montu could be the sun during the cataclysm, during the solar flare. That was called Montu, was not called Ra or Atum. And then we have Ra Horakhti, and then we have Horem Akhid. And then we have female sun, by the way. We have Ra, we have Ra'it. We have Atum, we have Atumet. So this is what I'm trying to say, that the ancient Egyptian understood that the sun maybe every 200,000 years is changing. So they give
Mhm.
another description to the sun.
Okay.
Um,
Cool. Yeah, do you want to wait? Yeah, that was just a question about if these were the names of the stars listed out here as well. I mean, that's a lot of information if they chose to name them all. But there was, yeah, like you were just saying, that's one of the things that opened my mind up to it was
let
Doc.
me show you this.
Okay,
This is now Middle Kingdom. Because
okay.
so we have seen Greco-Roman time, like Dandara Temple, Edfu Temple. We have seen Abydos, New Kingdom. Now this is Middle Kingdom. And now we can see this is another example. Yes, maybe still one star and the gate, but the gate is open fully from underneath. There is, and the other gate was, there is two things and as a small entrance. Now it is completely open and it is not above the gate anymore. It is next to the gate. And there is another one on the other side. They switch the locations.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
The sin reset from that.
Sonocert, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The Sonocert is the son of Imnemhat. Did Imnemhat
Eminem
had
hat, yeah.
Eminem had the same symbol? Because some can say this is a title for the king. Yes, I agree with this. But which king and why? How many kings? Over 500. How many of them got this symbol? Six rulers or
Hmm.
five rulers.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was going to be my next question for you, actually. It was you were talking about the Stargate Kings. You had both mentioned this,
Mhm.
which were associated with the gates in somehow, or perhaps they had the keys to use them,
Yes.
which also ties into I was seeing as we were talking about at Hawara these new discoveries, which
Mm.
it's been said that these might have been it might be a Stargate, this metallic object that's been detected at the center there. Um, but we were noticing it was being said you could see this giant Shen symbol, which is like the cartouche when it's squashed down to just a ring instead of a elongated one. But perhaps the cartouche was an elongated version of that symbol that said it was related to the Stargate somehow, or that they
This
yeah
opinion,
the
yes, it is originally the Shin.
yeah.
Okay. The Shin is the symbol of eternity. Circle. Okay. And it was like, look, the first thing
Very much like the Omega symbol, like the Omega if it was closed on the bottom.
no, no, I will let me. I saw this first in one of my presentations. He was showing a picture of circles, and then I knew later that it's called portal.
Oh,
Okay,
the spirals. Yeah.
the spirals,
Yep.
exactly. So the Shin is one of the spirals, the center of the spiral. And as you said, the king wanted to cross the Shin, but how? like it is not physical thing. Okay, it is 2D art. So they told him, we will put your name, so you will have eternal uh, journey by
Passage.
put
You, yeah, like a
and then
passport.
exactly, and then but you have to elongate the shin to make it like an oval shape. So in order to put the name. So that is the case. That is the story of the cartouche. The cartouche is not a name. No, the cartouche is a journey for the king or the name of the king to the other dimension every moment, every second.
Yeah,
Okay. It is not a name. It is
yeah.
a journey.
It might be in some sense saying like this is a man who is worthy or allowed or able to travel through this gate somehow. So could you mention a little bit more about these Stargate Kings that you were both kind of talking about this, and I do find it especially interesting, not just Senesret, but Amenemhat the Third is particularly interesting to me because he's attributed to be the builder of the Hawara pyramid, which is on top of this labyrinth that we're seeing this object in, which could potentially be a Stargate of some type. So, do you want to either of you talk a little bit about the Stargate Kings you found, or how they're more so connected to the Stargate technology?
Another one I'll let Mohammed take because it sounds like Mohammed that you have found another one here recently. Because when I know when I wrote the when I wrote the book at that point there were five middle center set in the Middle Kingdom and then the four New Kingdom. Was sounds like you found one here recently from the
Yes.
Old Kingdom, which is interesting.
Yes. And not only Old Kingdom, even older from Dynasty, end of Dynasty 1. Okay.
Wow.
The Nebka. You know this unknown pyramid, the unfinished pyramid, the one
Yeah,
in near Saqqara,
yeah. Is that Ariane?
Zawiyat Al Aryan, exactly.
Mm.
Okay, which we call it Area 51, Egyptian Area
Egypt
51.
Area
Yeah.
51. Yes.
Though I'm starting to call Hawara the Area 51 of Egypt these days, but Zawiya Arian's the original. Yeah.
Seems that there are many. So there is a big story behind this pyramid. But guess what? Everything from the discovery disappeared. Okay. We didn't find these pieces of stone. We didn't find any objects. We don't know where it is. It was all taken. It was found by the Italian, and again, Italian researcher called Alessandro Berzanti. I forgot when, but it's a long time ago,
It was
18
like
something.
19, it was like 1905, 1906. I'll bring up some of
Exactly.
those photos.
And this is now today within an entire military base. It's so locked down. It's one of the hardest places to get into. I'll just
But
say as context.
as if Alessandro was reading the future, he made the drawings for everything. So what we have only are the drawings, okay, but not the real object. So in one of the drawings, he is showing us a big stone, a broken part of a stone, or a wall or a block with the name Saba, the word Saba, and then a cartouche for a king, maybe not a king. His name is Ka-Ba, okay? Ka, the spirit, Ba, the soul. Yes,
Hmm.
Yeah.
this is the bottom of the pyramid.
Wow.
This is the one to the right
Yeah.
side. This is Alessandro himself.
Hmm.
Okay. So the
Amazing.
name of the ruler, Kaaba, the spirit, the soul, and Stargate.
Hmm.
And by the way, we don't know where that led, this huge sarcophagi or box, granite.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Well,
you can kind of see, and this is probably the better shot of it. Um, that depression there in the middle, that tub sort of thing, whatever you want to call it, it is 13 feet long by 7 feet wide, and they did find some sort of residue at the bottom that at that point they couldn't identify.
Mhm. Yes.
wow. Yeah, well, I've heard some people who have been able to get there and see some things or heard about things, rumors at least, that there are some really wild kind of vortex energies, anomalies there that would seem to be if
Mhm.
anywhere, I mean, in plenty of places in Egypt, you have things like that. But here, there was some really outrageous kind of anomalistic energies that were detected. So it seems like some type of portal technology there, if anywhere.
Yeah, Barsanti said that this this site was actually more important than Giza, according to him. And he could have been trying to hype up his own research, but he found this area very, very significant.
Mhm. Well, it's
Yes.
interesting also. It looks just like Abu Ruwash where we went, and the whole pyramid was removed from above, but you can
Mhm.
actually see the groundwork for what goes into building a pyramid before you lay the first stone, just what's there cut out of the bedrock. It kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
see
don't
how
know why that
huge it
one.
is. I mean, these guys just
Yeah.
look so tiny compared to the rest of the structure.
Of course. These Abu Rawash pyramid and Zawit al-Iran pyramid, they were absolutely finished project. They were active a long time ago, and they were destroyed because of the disaster happened at like maybe earlier, but at least we are talking about the disaster 10,500 BC. Okay, this is the last potential disaster can destroy both pyramids because you don't see unfinished pyramid and the granite box is already there. Like doing what? Okay,
Mhm.
this comes after they finish the whole thing. This will be the generator or the last part of the mechanical system.
Mhm.
So yes, so Mike, we used to talk about five rulers. Now there is number six. And
Okay.
you mentioned
Can you
something
list
in
them? Can you tell us
Trevor.
what those names quick?
Yeah. Okay.
Which six?
So Mike, you remember the five rulers,
Yeah, I
right?
remember the other five from the New Kingdom. You have Hatshepsut, you have Tutmos the third, and then Seti the first, Ramses the second, and then from Middle Kingdom is Sinmerset the third.
Exactly. And then we add the first dynasty ruler, Kaaba,
Mhm. It's an
or some call
all-star
him
list.
opposite. Some call him Baka, but I prefer Kaaba. And sometimes try to say Kaaba is like the Arabic word Kaaba, the cube, like
Yeah,
from Kabbalah. Maybe close,
Kabbalah
maybe okay,
or
but
Merkaba.
but yes,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Merkaba, it's still Kaaba, the same one.
Yeah.
Actually, Merkaba is Kaaba, but with the Mer, which is they call it the canal or the connection between the Ka and the Ba.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
Cool.
I
Okay.
I want to also make a good point that Imnimhat the third, okay, and also Imnimhat one, Imnimhat two, Imnimhat three, and Senusert two, one. These were great rulers, right? And they did great things and buildings. No one, none of them got the title.
Mhm.
So because we are not talking about great rulers, no, we are talking about a king was able, or a person was able to keep the secret, or was able to activate or to have the right knowledge or talent or ability to activate the gate.
Mhm.
And to be clear, I don't trust that the six kings, all of them are real stargates. I still suspect Ramses II and his father City first.
Mhm.
Maybe they don't, and maybe they add this title as a kind of honor for them
Ramses
to
too did like to put his name on a lot of
yes,
And
things we know.
everything. Yeah.
maybe they made it to claim that they are the secret keeper of the Stargate. But
Mhm.
listen, Hatshepsut, Tutmosis III, and when I say Tutmosis III, you we need to stop and to put like 100 lines under.
Mhm.
There is
Yeah.
so many things connected with the stars and extraterrestrials and UFOs are connected with this name,
Yeah.
Tutmosis.
Well, because
Okay.
he did so much work to gather that information back together, right? For the mystery school knowledge, he was trying to pull together a lot of the knowledge that had gotten scattered, and he probably came across a lot of
Exactly.
knowledge.
Look, if we agree that Hatshepsut deserved this title, and I agree with this, Thutmose III was the stepson of Hatshepsut, and she loved him, and she gave the knowledge to him. She sent him to the temple to become a priest. And when I say priest, the priest was originally a scientist. Okay, they studied science, but corruption made them, the early priests made them use science as religion. So he was a scientist before he became a king. So my guessing that Hatshepsut gave him every thing she told him, or she trained him to be her successor as a Stargate keeper. I will share with you one of the secrets. He is the king, or the name connected with the colony outside our solar system. It was,
Okay, that was the next question. All right. Yeah,
it
I
was
know
just absolutely.
we've kind of been going a while now, but I definitely want to at least cover this couple last things here, which was yeah, well, for one, I kind of asked you, but you had mentioned this instruction manual on how to use it, these potential destinations through it, and you told Mike in your recent interview that there were even records of a colony of Egyptians beyond Earth, a
Yes.
colony through one of these stargates potentially, and I really want to ask you about that. I also just quickly want to add in too that when we're talking about Amenemhat III, yeah, he was attributed for making the Hawara pyramid, which we know has potentially some of this Stargate knowledge and technology under it. But he was also said to have built the Black Pyramid at Dashur and some of those pyramidions we see at the Cairo Museum, which some
Yes.
people have said actually have off-planet materials in their composite material they're constructed from. So that's very interesting too. Just like King Tut's dagger came from
Yeah,
potential
but
off-planet
I
iron. But
I want to correct this information. The Pramitian we see at Cairo Museum, no, it is an earth material. It is very hard material called granodiorite.
okay,
So
I know there's a
we have,
couple of them too, but some people have said that at least some
but
element within it seemed potentially
look,
off-planet.
I don't know if what I'm saying is correct or no, but I think sometimes there are some certain people try to mislead us to take us away from the truth. Okay, so it is not the material. This Pyramidion is very special because of the writings, because there is the mention of Orion and
Hmm.
Sirius in
Hmm.
certain constellation.
Interesting.
So as if this Pyramidion is telling us in a certain day, this happened, this constellation happened, and it will happen again in another certain day, and this will be
Hmm.
a time for great energy.
Okay.
Okay, so they invented the idea of different of unknown material to take us away from this fact.
Well, it was interesting because these new scans at Hawara were also saying Timothy Akers, who had done this newest one, I just released this whole film about Hawara Rising, where I interviewed Louis de Cordier, who is the one who brought forward all this new information, and an old friend of mine who was working there in 2008 and stuff. But Timothy Akers actually said, and he was working with top like military equipment and intelligence friends of his in England saying this signature of this object they detected right in the middle was a material signature unlike anything he had ever detected before. And he could
Mhm.
tell you what he's finding underground, if it's steel or iron or gold or oil or water. They detect all these different signatures, but he said this was metallic, but a type of metal he had never seen before. So that's interesting too. But
Yes, I don't deny that there was so many things like this, and as you mentioned, the dagger of Tutankhamun. This is the iron from a meteorite.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Uh,
yes, for sure, there was fallen meteorites in the Egyptian desert. I saw one
mhm.
like 10 years ago. I was in Siwa Oasis, and I saw a huge one in the middle of the desert. So there was many, and
Yeah.
the advanced ancient Egyptians were able to use many of them.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm not
Okay.
denying the existence of unknown or non-earthial materials.
Yeah, yeah. Did you want to add something, Mike?
Yeah, just because we were kind of wrapping up on Amenemhat the third, and what I find interesting, and it's something that is kind of pieced together here recently, because they had finally like, deciphered these inscriptions in turquoise mine in Sinai area of basically it was an
Right.
inscription of Moses in a
Mhm.
couple of different places. Uh, and what I found interesting was, okay, these turquoise mines actually dated back to the time of Amenemhat III, which, son of Senusret III, and they co-ruled for 20 together. So even though he wasn't designated, didn't have the designation of Stargate, at least that we haven't found yet, I think he probably would have at least had knowledge. And when we look at the Temple of Abydos, the Hall of Ptah Soker, and there's two Stargate chambers at the end of that hall, and I have a great video of Mohammed breaking down how in the inscriptions in the wall in there talk about the head shait, the white cakes coming from turquoise land in Sinai. So finding these different connections, those are always things that I look for. So I think Amenemhat the third did have more of a role within the Stargates, even though we're not seeing that specific designation in front of his name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very interesting.
maybe also, as I keep saying, because we cannot like say for sure yes or no because we didn't find everything. We
Yeah.
didn't find
Mhm.
all the walls. There are so many are missing. So maybe he had the title written somewhere, but we lost it.
We just haven't found it yet. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And we know that it could even tie in with the Ark of the Covenant or with the multiple arcs are said to exist, if they could be part of the power source or connected to these. I think the ark's been connected with some of this white powder cakes as well, too, the mana or ormus, monoatomic gold, which could be somehow related. So
Yes.
yeah, I think we are getting up on like 2 hours or something. So I might ask to just touch on this again, what I started asking before and then ask too many questions at once. Um, the instruction manual, destination list, and records of Egyptian colonies beyond. Could you speak on that at least a little bit before we wrap it up?
Okay. I saw the instruction manual, and that was with Mike, but I didn't pay attention to this. But what
Where
happened?
is that at? At
Dendara, the one we saw at Dendara, the 12 gates. Okay. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. So, things I saw, I understand, let's say 10% of it. I was thinking it is 100%, but then I saw something else. So, it gave me a hint that what I understood first, it was not complete. So, I saw Dendara temple and I had some ideas about the number of each gate, and each one has different number of stars. One had eight, one 11, one 25, one maybe only six. So each one has different group of stars. And each one had different symbol, hieroglyphic symbol. Some was one symbol, not the same, of course. Some was many symbols. Also, each one has a human figure in front of it with different style. One of them, there is a scarab above the head. And that one, in my like when I saw it, immediately I understood the meaning that crossing the gate means new beginning because the scarab in one of the major meanings of the scarab is new beginning. So you cross the gate, you will get new beginning, new life, new beginning, okay, new energy. So, but I didn't like think that these gates are telling us the destination or the where to go. Until I was in Abydos again last year, was because my wife Noha started to join all my tours. She's doing a great job as the CEO of Saba Tours now. And that saved lots of hustle of me. I was dealing with everything. Okay. I was the one-man show a
Yeah.
long time ago, but not anymore. And that gave me a time, and I appreciate this, that Noah gave me the chance to focus more on the temples and the walls. Okay, will you give me just 1 second?
Yeah.
Mm. Noah, in November, our tour was Mike. What we do this time special?
We're
What
doing
is
the
different?
Egyptian labyrinth. We're doing Hawara.
Ah, no, 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 new visit, new site. We do Fayoum? Ah, we do
Yeah.
Fayoum.
Yeah, we're doing Fayum and Hawara. Yeah.
Have we been to Fayoum together before?
No, we've not yet done that.
Ah,
So that will
okay.
definitely be incredible. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everybody now is talking about Hawara and the labyrinth. Of course,
Hmm.
we're gonna go there, but many people, or most of them, they don't know about Lahoun,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ancient,
The
the
floating
ancient
pyramid. Yeah.
landing station for UFOs.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a second? That was one last question I still had on the list and hadn't asked, but yeah.
Okay, but I will make it short because it is big story.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Okay. So I was saying that I was able to have like free time in my tours because of my wife Noha, and also because she saw many of my videos or all of them, and she knows my subject, and she's very smart, and she started to notice some of the unknown symbols or symbols I focus on. So from time to time, she tells me, Mohammed, have you seen this? I took a picture of that. So we were together leading a tour last year in Abydos Temple, which I visited like how many times? 500 times. Okay. So I can say I know this temple and all the other temples like my hand. Guess what? I saw some texts for the first time in my life. I, I, I was like, what? How come? In the lower level of the wall, high relief, but very small size. That's why, because sometimes you follow the system, you know. I know the helicopter, so every time we ran to see the helicopter, I know this, I know that. So your eyes always tracking what you know. Okay. But when you try to like delete this expectation, then you may see new things. So I saw in the lower level of all the walls the this ancient text, and this text high relief. And why I make sure to say high relief, because the next text to it is low relief, which dated to city first. Okay, so when you see high relief and low relief, immediately when you like close your eyes, the low relief is the second layer, the reuse. So the high relief is way older than, or we can say the original, but maybe not, because maybe the temple was not decorated before or not used for writings. Okay, so high relief is much older. So I became interested and I took some photos. When I zoomed in, I found that the word Stargate is written inside a text, not a label on the two sides of the door anymore. Okay, and some of them were actually in the next to the door jamb. Okay, but it is not a title like we saw earlier. No, it's a whole text, sometimes 4 lines, okay, or 5 lines under each other, both sides, and both sides are repeating the same thing, like mirror, which I understand they try to say that it is the same resonant, as if you go between two tuning forks or two antenna. Okay, so quickly, what I found that it talks about going in literally. So, and I know hieroglyphics. You know this. It says going into the Stargate.
Wow.
Okay, and uh, they give us a description to the material, that some of the stargates are made out of gold, silver, turquoise, lapis lazuli.
Wow.
So what kind of, even if we follow the unaccepted explanation. This is the gate, just a gate. Who will make a gate of silver, gold, turquoise, and lapis lazuli? Like, and the
Yeah.
big gate. Okay. Uh, yes. So,
Yeah.
so this is, and so the moment I saw this, I told myself, wait a minute. So now we know that this is a functioning Stargate. And now we know the material. What about the destination? I didn't find anything about destination in this text, but then I remembered Dendara Temple. That the destination is written that I didn't imagine that it is written. So I went back to Dendara. I saw that each gate is given a number. Gate number 2, gate number 3, number 4, till gate number 12. And each gate was given a title. Unfortunately, I was not able to understand it because of the code again. But I'm working hard to find out the meaning. And each gate was given a symbol. That symbol also is leading, maybe, to be honest with you, maybe this is the destination, or as I believe now, it is the activation code
Hmm.
or
Do
the
you,
level of energy required to activate the gate. Because
okay.
the group of stars, in my opinion, this is the destination.
Yeah.
But we need to know which constellation consists of this number of stars.
Yeah, that's what I
And
was
I
gonna
think
say. Is it the 12 different signs of the zodiac, perhaps? And it's identifying each one of the constellations, possibly. Maybe.
maybe,
Maybe.
maybe this is yes. And by the way, after they cleaned the soot, the black color from Esna Temple, I can tell you that so many secrets will be revealed. Esna is going to
So
share in
much.
this story because when
Yeah.
I used to talk about portals when I was a little bit shy and, like say it quick. But after I saw Esna, no, I am now with great
Oh my
confidence
God.
because I saw portals at the ceiling. I saw what we call it cobras and snakes. For me, this is all in energies and portals. And I see things cannot be explained as physical creatures. No, they are explained as energies and portals. So Isna
Yeah.
Temple is playing a big part of revealing these secrets.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to getting back there because you have that on the itinerary for our Stargates tour in November.
Mhm.
And we haven't been back there, or at least I haven't been back there since they had just first started that restoration work. So I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing what they
That's
uncovered there.
almost finished now, Mike. You will be
Well, I heard
surprised.
they had finished.
Yes,
Yeah,
Oh,
I was there 4 months ago, and they were
mhm.
finishing the last part.
The last part. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So now I
yeah.
think it's fully finished.
I was back there last year and it was amazing. I mean, yeah, so much astronomical knowledge. You got the phases of the moon, you have all the zodiacal signs, you have so much in that ceiling that compared to 2019 when I first went there with you, Mohammed, oh my
Mhm.
goodness. I was comparing my photos from before and after. It's amazing the job they've done there. And that's one of my favorite temples. And I'm really glad you brought up this idea that to me, that was the big thing for me was seeing just pure knowledge of the stars in general, knowing so much about each one of these stars that are out there. And I actually saw when you had your folder open for a second, there was one shot of Nabta Playa, which is one of my favorite. That this guy, Dr. Thomas Brophy, who is close with John West and Schock and everyone, his book, The Origin Map, blew me away. And that was really more than anything, I think, what opened my mind up to okay, no, I have to be open to it. How did they know this much about these stars? Because they're showing the relative distance from Earth to these six stars in Orion. They're showing their orbital velocity moving away from the Earth. They're showing potentially their planetary bodies, which NASA doesn't even know. They're showing stones around each one of these stones that might have meant how many planets each system had, and more than that, even too.
I am happy you brought up this subject because
Mhm.
this is a great evidence that the people who lived at Nabta around 7000 BC, they inherited this knowledge.
Mhm.
Like no way to
Yeah.
think this is their own work or observe. No, they inherited the knowledge and they
Yeah.
inherited home from the advanced Egyptians or the advanced people who lived before the 10,500 BC.
Yeah, yeah, part of that stone circle has not aligned to the stars it represents since 16,500 BC was the last time it hit that furthest tilt of precession. So it's
Great.
like that site must be, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, the knowledge used to create it must have spanned multiple 26,000 year precessional cycles. I don't see how else it could have happened, unless they had a laptop where they could type in like we do today to see what the sky looked like, one or the
Mm.
other. So it's
Right.
absolutely amazing. But even the last time those three stars aligned was 16,500 BC. So all of this stuff really should be opening our minds here. We've got stargates being written about with redundancies to make sure you're not just letting your mind go out. It's telling you, here's what it looks like, here's how you spell it, this is what you call it, this is how you go through it, this is potential destinations, understanding what's on the other side. It is not this is not a conspiracy theory, folks. This is Egyptians' own accounts that you're looking at now, which is the two of you are the only ones that I really hear. I know a few other people who get into this stuff a little bit, but no one is pushing this really important research as much as you both are, which I really, really appreciate. And yeah, I think we could go for another couple hours probably, but I know you both got stuff to do. And
Okay.
I want to thank you both really so much for having this conversation. And I'll
Mhm.
just ask you each, maybe ask Mike if you got where can people find you and where can they buy your amazing books and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just stop by mikericksecker.com and you can find all my books there. You can go to the events and tours tab there. You'll find the links to Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. So I do encourage people to, there's only a couple weeks left here to sign up to register for that. But yeah, we're going November 11th to the 23rd. And
Mhm.
Trevor, we're hoping that we get you out there for that day there at Hawara, which would be incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
and of
that's
course all over social media. So there we go.
Mhm.
yeah, Mike is doing interviews every week. Amazing stuff, and the books are great. And I am gonna try and be there. I'm gonna be almost certainly in Egypt at that time in the middle of November. And I'm going to try my hardest to be able to hopefully see Hawara with you guys. Because it's amazing that you already planned Fayum and Hawara into your trip before we ended up hearing this
It was
news from
before all that
Lewis.
happened. Yeah.
And people do not put Fayum on their trips, which, I think is so important, but it's kind of in between the two north and south, so people don't get there as much. So it's amazing you're doing that. And I love your tour dates too, from 11/11 uh,
11/11.
to 11/23, which I actually call Fibonacci Day because one
Yeah,
one two three. It's the opening of the Fibonacci sequence.
it
So that's,
is. Here, I'll pop up the if I can
yeah, give us
share
the
this up.
poster quick.
Yeah, I'll pop up the poster real quick here. So it's still on that, but let's here we go.
Yeah. Awesome poster. And yeah, I would really love to be able to join for a quick visit at least. I wish I could come on your whole tour with you, but hopefully I can at least get to see you both.
Hope
Um
so.
yeah, and Mohammed, what's your information? How can people find you? And is there any last ideas you want to just tie this up with? Any other things you want to mention?
Yes, I wanna like make sure that people get this right. That yes, when we talk about stargates, no, this is not fancy talk. This is not for uh, uh, propaganda. No, we are talking about real science, real information. And what you heard from us now, you're gonna hear more and more. Okay, because of course, the time. And sometimes when you see it yourself, when we visit the temples, when we visit the tombs, there is a chance for more information. Sometimes question can be a good way also to explain more. So we're talking about a very credible story. Uh, you will find me on social media, of course, under the name Guide of Egypt. And I'm very also proud choosing this name And I can see recently the result of this name, or the meaning of this name, that I was hoping to be one of the reasons guiding Egypt out of the old stories, the stories trying to underestimate the power. Like, if you have 1 minute, recently in Middle East, like in Emirates and in Kuwait and Saudi, they announced that we found some objects older than the pyramids, 7,000 years old, 6,000
Nothing's
years.
nothing's older than the pyramids.
So if we
Sorry.
don't talk about what we are talking about now, so our history will get lost, and these structures will be considered as tombs, as something basic, not important, and the new generations will forget about it. Because if you keep calling it something simple, or something not, if you hide its identity, by time it will disappear from the minds and from the history.
Yeah.
So we are doing great job bringing back the importance and the value of the ancient work. Okay. So Guide of Egypt is my title, and I have a YouTube channel. Maybe I am guilty not adding videos for a long time, but I will. Maybe this is a good chance to uh, talk about my future course. I'm about to launch a course. 1 year. The course will last for 1 year. It's a long course,
Wow.
but we will teach everything about ancient Egypt. We're gonna do the academic level first because it's important. I'm not denying the mainstream stories, but then to create a foundation, and then we're gonna teach the alternative stories. We're gonna teach ancient Egyptian language, which I see it as the most important thing. So you can do your own translation. You don't need English, Egyptologist, German, French to translate it for you. You don't need me to translate it for you. No, you will be able to translate it yourself. And the religion, art, and everything, including a small course about modern Arabic language. I saw many people that are interested in learning Arabic, so I will provide this in the course. Okay. And by the way, I really appreciate your knowledge, Mike, and I'm very happy that you remember the names, the uh,
I
how you
try. I
spell the
try.
names.
Yeah.
This is because this is not easy. Like when you say Zawit Al Aryan, this is a difficult name, by the way, to
It
pronounce.
took me a long time, and I still struggle sometimes with that one. Zayat El Arian.
But,
Yeah.
but you
It's
said this is great. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Trevor,
Okay.
for giving us this chance. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you both so much. I really want to say that I really appreciate what you're, a lot of times when we get into these kind of cosmic elements of Egypt, it's people shut off, or they get offended, or they have cognitive dissonance. It's too far out from their reality they've been told to believe in. And I think when we have people like you both bringing this very, very hard evidence-based, discussions that are not at all speculative. You're just telling us what you are literally finding the Egyptians
yeah.
themselves saying. We're bringing this very important subject into the realm of scientific analysis and investigation. And I think a lot of times the big issue people have is they say, "Oh, you think aliens built the pyramid, or you think, this or that." It's like, no, we're not saying that. I mean, we don't know. It could have been humans and ETs. It could have been anything. But a lot of times people get offended and they say, "Oh, well, you're taking the credit away from the Egyptians. You're robbing them of this great accomplishment they achieved." Alternatively, what you're bringing forward is quite the opposite. We're actually now, you're framing it in a way where we're actually talking about, no, not what if these ETs came down and built the pyramids. We're talking about what if the Egyptians themselves were an interplanetary civilization.
Right.
That is a concept the world needs to open up to at this point. I mean, I think we can really say this is not, this is not a movie that was a great movie anyway. Stargate was amazing. There was definitely some very real stuff in there, as you say, and in the series as well. I was just mentioning before the show that they actually had a character in season one of Stargate SG-1 who was named Shen, which is the name of the symbol, the Shen symbol, like the cartouche is saying. So anyway, I think
But
it's
you
very
know what's funny
important to
about
flip
that,
it.
real quick, Trevor, is because I've been on a number of episodes of Ancient Aliens, and they actually never say within Ancient Aliens that it was built by aliens. I mean, there's the big meme by Giorgio, it's aliens. It, it's never actually said within Ancient Aliens that the aliens built the pyramids. It's more of like that the knowledge transfer is really what they talk about on that show. So I always find it funny because
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of people think that that's what we're talking about. And like on my YouTube channel and all that, when I post these videos, there are comments down in there, accusing us of believing extraterrestrials built, the pyramids and other structures. No, that is not what we're saying. Actually, listen to what we're talking about, because
yeah,
yeah, like you said, um, it's the knowledge that the peoples had. We're talking about lost civilizations. We're talking about interplanetary civilizations. All of this. It's there's more depth to this than just
yeah.
punting it off on ETs.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's so important because I mean, I don't know. None of us know. We're searching for the evidence to find out. But I don't make any claims about these things. I just like to investigate it and look for the actual evidence. And I think yeah, I would never claim that I know who built them, but as far as I could tell, even if it was ETs working with humans or something on that level, that wouldn't even, really take any credit away from the Egyptian people or the original heritage of the Egyptians. If advanced extraterrestrial races chose to share knowledge with them, that's a compliment
Yeah.
to their civilization in itself, that these high beings would actually work with them and cooperate. That's more a compliment to the heritage of the civilization rather than trying to put it down or take credit away from them. I think either way, we can tell that the Egyptian civilization had this extremely advanced knowledge and deserves the credit for it. We're certainly not trying to take any credit away in any sense. So I think that's amazing and a really strong note to leave it off on. And so I just want to thank you both so much once again. This has been an amazing talk. This is such important stuff. And I thank you both, not just for talking with me, but for doing this research, being on the
Mhm.
ground. I can't wait to see what you get from this next tour. I hope I can be there to meet with you, and I'll do everything I can to. And I just really appreciate both your work so much and getting this chance to chat about it with you.
Yeah, thanks
So
again so much for having us back.
Yes.
absolutely. All right.
Mhm.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. We'll do it again. Get some updates after next tour.
Thanks to you. And what made me to make sure that this is the Stargate? Here is the word written Stargate in the middle. So last year I was explaining this story exactly to Mike and the other group, and Mike told me, "What about looking to the other side?"
We're on the side?
Didn't see this one. Oh,
Oh,
this is too much.
it keeps going.
Right, and the other wall. See,
Yeah.
we didn't see this before.
We're on the other side.
I was telling this story for 7 years without asking this question. What about the other side? So we found more stargates in this side and that side.
Actually, this here is also Stargate. Right there.
This is the address. This is where you will go.
I didn't get a good recording of Mohamed talking about it as we were walking up the stairs to get up here. But on the right-hand side, as you're walking up, there's a procession of people with what we would call offerings and other items that they're bringing up here. And then on the left-hand side, there's a procession coming back down. This is indicative of we are bringing things to the Stargate. We're going to bring things that pass through the Stargate, perform that ceremony. And then, of course, when it's all done, you come back down.
This is the famous staircase with these very long. You can actually see right here that these walls are actually about 8 feet thick. And so the light portal cut into it, that's really, yeah, insane. The walls are like 8 feet thick about. But this staircase is amazing. You walk up and you have these light portals all along it. So the layout is very similar to Edfu Temple, where I went yesterday. And each of these stairwells are very similar. It's like you're just walking around. You can easily lose your orientation from where you are. Just go to the top and then we'll come back into that chamber. But this comes out to the roof. So you can go either way. This is the other staircase coming down from the other side, over in this corner. Beautiful stars. We have these figures walking all the way down. Stars all along the ceiling.